views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Live an enlightened and authentic life by standing in your own power. The Dr. Brie Show, The Goddess Emergence, brings forth new information supporting the ascension process happening on the planet now. Learn the true meaning of the word goddess and why each and every one of us is a divine being. Dr. Brie travels multiple worlds, bringing through the unknown ancient knowledge and messages to help you remember who you truly are and live life with truth, trust, and passion. Now, here's your host, Dr. Brie Gibbs.
Welcome, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. Maybe this isn't the type of show that you would do on Valentine's Day, but it's a 5-day in the Goddess Light numbers, so which means of love. And so, bringing love to humanity right now is really important, I think, so much. So today I have a special guest, Gregory Paul Martin, who did an astrology reading for me. I had no idea who this man was. A friend of mine did a chart with him, and I saw it, and I said, okay, I'm going to try. And it was great, because what happens is, which a lot of my listeners know, that sometimes I see things a year or 5 years or 10 years ahead of time that's going to happen with me or with other things that, energetically with the planet. And, I have to let, and he read my chart and did my chart and told me about myself. It was like a confirmation. And there was more things that he said and that made more sense to me. And it put things in perspective. And so I've listened to the tape over and over and over several times. And every time I listened to it, I got something out of it even more. So I have to let, Gregory know that what he did was actually the things have already come into creation and manifesting. Something happened yesterday. Something's happened today. That was really great. And, and I was like going, okay, he hit it on the nose for the 14th. And I'm going, one day earlier and then now today. And it's like, I was totally surprised by the phone call that we got today at the center. So, many things, you get things in readings and you hear about them and you go, okay, that resonates with me. That doesn't resonate with me. Take what resonates with you, and the rest, you never know if it's for you or not for you. Your chart is your chart, but it's not like something you have to stick with. But with the chart I got, I'm sticking with. So it was great. So hi, Gregory. How are you doing?
Oh, very well, thank you.
I'm trying to go by the notes, and you're starting to laugh, and I'm going, okay, here we go.
No. Yeah, that's the funny thing. You should stick with your chart. It's a great chart.
Thank you.
You have no choice but to stick with the chart fundamentally, but of course, it's just a starting point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So how are you doing?
Very well. How are you?
I am fine. So that chart is amazing, and I was like going, okay, I had to get that out. And so if anybody wants a reading done by Gregory Paul Martin, get a hold of him, guys. Get a hold of him.
Yeah, and apropos of that, let me just say this, that this is something that I've only been doing on a one-on-one basis for a relatively short period of time, because I decided long ago that this would be a private, this gift that I have, which is extraordinary, would be a private thing for me. And my world is literature and theater and film and television. I have my own television and film production company in London, and I'm very, very busy. But I knew that I would do it at some point, offer it publicly, because this was told to me about 35 years ago by the only person I ever worked with who was a teacher to me. And he said, you'll probably do this at some point, because you just won't be able to stop, because you know how much, how gifted you are, you know how you can help so many people. So it's coming to an end now. So if somebody does want to have a personal reading with me, they should do it I mean, they should contact me or my wife, Cherie, at CherieRoseMartin@gmail.com immediately, because I'm going to stop. I mean, it's like it's stopping at the end of February. And what we decided to do was, because it's 2019, just, because most people I speak to, many people I speak to can't afford what I, generally charge people in my world of entertainment. So we just offer it for $219, I think, for the end of February, like a special thing. To the end of February. If they want to do that, then but they have to do it fast, because I'm just, it's going to end in February.
It's going to end.
Well, it's going to end in the sense, like, because I'm just too busy doing other things that I'm doing. That's why I wrote the book that, which we'll speak about later. I just wanted to put everything I know in one, but it's been tremendous to actually help so many people. But if they want to have a reading, they should move fast, because I'm going to get booked up. I can tell by 14 days left of February.
Right.
And then again, and speaking of that, that's why it was highly, the fact that you and I met when we met, there are no accidents. So this is, I knew that I had something very, very important to tell you. And if you listen to me, it would change your life. And the crux of it is the information I'm giving in this webinar on Saturday. Because astrology is just a beginning, and it's just a jumping off point. And people need to understand that literally they're creating their own lives 24/7. And the chart does not, it's not a prison. It doesn't dictate what you do. And the whole discovery in quantum physics of many, many universes, infinite universes, infinite selves, that's the core of it. And if you can learn how to put yourself on the ideal future for yourself and the ideal future for your country and the world, which is what I'm going to be teaching on Saturday, the one your webinar you're attending, then the chart, in a sense, doesn't matter anymore, because you've stepped outside of the chart. I mean, that's what any great master does. You step outside of the chart. The chart always exists as your potential and your challenges, but you've transcended it, you see. That's the point. And I don't know any other astrologer who has ever spoken about this or taught this.
Well, it's going to be really interesting. And thank you for letting us know about the ending of
readings,
your readings and stuff. I think it's really important. We have a few minutes before this, but I want to talk about your book, because I read through the lines of your book. And so I think it's positive in a lot of ways. So could you tell us why you wrote this book, Watch It Come Down?
Yeah, well, because it's a distillation of the many lifetimes I've had as an astrologer, going back to the time of Christ. The only person I ever worked with, as I said, there's one person who's a genius astrologer. When I was very much younger, he said to me, he used to call me a magi, one of the wise kings, who went the kings, astrologer kings.
Yes, I understand magi.
When Christ. So I wrote the book because I wanted to distill all my knowledge in just like one document. But I also wanted to discuss what was inevitably going to happen with America, what was inevitably going to happen with Trump, because it's just interesting from a psychological point of view. There's the two reasons it's called Watch It Come Down, because Watch It Come Down is what's going to happen to him. Watch It Come Down, that's the name of the book, is what's going to happen to America, because America is dying and is going to be reborn. And there's nothing to be afraid of in that. It just has to happen. It's in the chart of the United States of America. But it's also about Watch It Come Down to do with astrology and consciousness, because astrology is misunderstood. I mean, astrology is like it's an incredible tool for understanding yourself, but it's very, very limited. It is like, we're dealing with a very ancient science. And again, you're talking to a man who's had many lifetimes, going back to, Ptolemy and Alexandria. I know where I've been with this stuff. So, but we're evolving, and it's like, you are not, there is no set future for you. Anybody who ever tells you, I can tell you like the energy that was unfolding for you, but any specific event apart from your death, which I would never tell anybody about. But nobody can say that because you live in a world of infinite probable futures. This is where quantum physics comes in. And that's why I wrote the book, because we're in the middle of this huge transformation of consciousness, which is literally the most profound and important transformation in the history of the human race. And it's happening at not a moment too soon, because we're on the brink of self-destruction. So I wanted to explain, and so Watch It Come Down applies not only to America, death and rebirth, and Watch It Come Down with the farce of Trump, but also with the whole understanding of consciousness and astrology, because astrologers don't understand astrology.
Oh, wow. But don't you think this is a question I have. Don't you think with the universe and everything that's happened, it wouldn't have mattered who was in office during this time?
No, I don't think it does matter. But I think that he's perfect, because he is, as I write in the book, he's perfect in this sense. That you finally look, America, if you look at, and again, I go into this in depth in the book, as you know, and the reason the book is like very in your face and look, you got to wake up, is because we're living on a timeline that is disastrous. And if you stay on this timeline, this is why this webinar is so important, because people need to wake up and understand. The reality is there are multiple infinite futures for you. And you need to shift to a different future where America is healed, where the environment is healed, where the proliferation of weapons is over. The whole thing, that exists. But people need to know how to do that. And in the webinar on Saturday, I'm going to teach them how to do that. But you see, in America, because America is unconscious, a country's unconscious. You can't make decisions for itself, because and America is so fucked up, and it's sitting on 248 years almost. I mean, like that's the cycle of Pluto, which is 248 years of denial about the roots of it, the violence in the country, the genocide of the Native Americans. The country was built, all of this. I mean, you've read the book. It's so the country is going through a complete death and rebirth. So the reason Trump is a perfect president is because this iniquity, this astonishing depravity and sordid, all the crime and corruption, not just in politics, obviously, but primarily in politics and on Wall Street. It's been going on for 100 years, more than that. And you see, finally, you have a president, a so-called president, and he's got no clothes on. The emperor has no clothes, because it's obvious that he's a criminal. It's obvious he's corrupt. It's obvious he's a liar. He's like, but America's like going, oh my God, what do we do? The country's having a nervous breakdown. It needs to have a nervous breakdown, because the corruption in politics has been particularly, and with the big oil and Wall Street, it's been going on for ever since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. I mean, this is a huge moment for America. And I wrote the book, again, primarily because I wanted people to understand it's going to be very, very rough, but it is going to continue. It's going to get worse, a lot worse, but the country needs to go through that. So it wouldn't have mattered, but he's the perfect president. To answer your question. Sorry.
No, I understand what you're saying. We need to take a quick break. We'll be back with more of Gregory Paul Martin and myself, Dr. Brie. See you in a few minutes.
Watch It Come Down by Gregory Paul Martin. It is always darkest before the dawn. A swift, intelligent, compelling read, Watch It Come Down is a shot in the arm for all those grappling with the chaotic state of America since Trump won the 2016 election. With astrology more popular today than ever, a third of Americans believing in the stars, $300 million a year spent on books, seminars, and readings, the market for this book is extensive and comprehensive. ranging from the large numbers of millennials turning to astrology for answers to the challenging questions in their lives, to all the middle-aged and baby boomer readers of coffee table astrology books, with the potential added bonus of every intelligent, curious, open-minded person who voted against Trump or voted for him and now regrets it. The 17th century English astrologer William Lilly foresaw the crushing defeat of Charles I at the Battle of Naseby and the rise of Oliver Cromwell. The German astrologer Elspeth Ebertin predicted the murder of Tsar Nicholas II and Hitler's rise to power. In a similar fashion, Watch It Come Down is destined to become a classic of astrological prediction, accurately forecasting the inevitable fall of Trump and the rebirth of America from the ashes of its former self, explaining why Trump has come to power at this time, the energies in his chart that presage his ineluctable end, and what will have come to pass by the end of 2020 as America emerges from its preordained dark night of the soul into the light of a bright and brilliant brand new day. Watch It Come Down by Gregory Paul Martin.
Welcome back, everyone. So we have a question that came in from one of our listeners. On November 8th, Jupiter returned to Sag. And will there be there all year? What is the impact on this individual and globally?
What is the impact of Jupiter and Sagittarius individually and globally?
Yes.
Well, individually, you can't possibly say unless you know the person's chart. So, I mean,
Okay.
Globally. Again, I mean, every country's, like the United States has a chart, England has a chart, you have a chart, I have a chart. So it's all relative to the chart. I mean, Jupiter and Sagittarius, because it rules Sagittarius, are all about law, fundamentally law.
Mm-hmm.
But it is also the jolly green giant of the zodiac. You see, those kind of questions, I mean, if you think, with all due respect to the person who's asking it, it's kind of like people who buy into these stupid weekly, monthly, annual columns that every astrologer writes. And I wrote about this in the book with the goddess Susan Miller, America. You can't do this stuff. I mean, that's like tittytainment. It really, it's like, I mean, I say tittytainment. It's like Game of Thrones. It's like, it's trivializing something that's very profound. You can't say this is going to happen for a Sagittarius. You can't say that. How can you possibly predict what's going to happen for 1/12 of 7.8 billion people? There being 12 signs of the zodiac. So it's a very general question. And, you can't, it's almost anybody who tries to, any astrologer, frankly, who tries to answer that question is just bullshitting the person who's asking it. You can't, I mean, you can't answer that question.
Okay. Well,
that's another reason why I wrote the book, because I'm telling you, 99.9% of astrologers out there don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're just trying to make money.
So do they use a special chart for things like that? Like, you come from Christ's time. You've been doing this since Christ's time with you as a magi. Okay. Right. So is there, with you doing it, is there a difference between the way you do it and the way somebody else does it then?
No, it's like no. I mean, well, yes. I mean, in the sense of, I guess, what I bring to it. But somebody like, and I don't mean to go on about it, but she just Susan Miller, she's the most marketed astrologer in America. Mm-hmm. Just developed a certain amount of knowledge from reading books or studying with people who've read the same books, but it's not that profound. I mean, it's like almost like Stella Adler, the great acting teacher who taught Marlon, she was like Marlon Brando's only teacher. Right. She said, I didn't teach Marlon anything. I just pulled out of him what was already inside him. You can't teach acting, So I guess it's the same. I'm looking at the same chart, but it's always instinctive. I mean, I, for example, with you, when I was looking at your chart, I just get messages. I know exactly what to focus on. I know exactly what to emphasize. And, I know if I go on about this and teach the person like you that the chart is like something you're going to bust out of. If you understand it correctly, there is no preset destiny, and you're limitless. You're limitless. You're limitless. That's why it's different. Most people just parrot the same thing.
Okay. So let's go back to Trump a little bit. President Trump. I want to go back to that.
Okay.
Just one question I have, really. So we have free will. And in your book, you talk about how he lost his free will. How did that happen?
Well, because he's unconscious. I mean, look, it's like, if you are somebody clearly who, even if I didn't see your chart, just talking to you, I would know that you are somebody who's done a great deal of work on herself spiritually. I mean, you're very much on a spiritual path.
Thank you.
Call him a spiritual Neanderthal, and God knows, I mean, most of Congress is spiritual Neanderthals. Anybody who has not done any work on themselves doesn't have any free will, because they don't understand that they think they do, because the egos are running the show. The ego is saying, "Oh yeah, I can do whatever I want," but because they haven't done any, they haven't come to consciousness. They don't realize that they're actually not they're not the person they think they are. They're way more than that. The chart will play out, and that's why. Again, to go back to the Watch It Come Down in terms of Trump, Watch It Come Down being the title of the book, I got so sick to death of reading all these stupid astrologers like Susan Miller saying that Hillary Clinton was going to win, when I could see very clearly Trump was going to win, but then he was going to totally collapse, and it was going to be worse than Nixon by the end of 2020. That's why I wanted to document that, because nobody was seeing that. And that's in his chart. You see, a person, like a country is unconscious, so what's happened to America is inevitable. But what's in your chart, because you've done work on yourself, you've gone beyond the chart. Your life is not dictated by the chart. But for somebody like him, it looks at astrology and goes like, "This is fucking bullshit." Oh, sorry, excuse my language. this is. I forgot that bit. I mustn't say bad words. But I'm Celtic. Forgive me.
So am I.
Okay, anybody who's just like, they're gonna come a cropper. The chart is gonna take their future. So that's why he doesn't have free will.
Okay, that's great. I had to laugh anyway.
Thank you.
Celtic, I'm the same thing, so we're good.
No, I won't do it again, miss. I promise.
Okay. We'll try to make sure, right? So, the thing is, can he go back and receive his free will? That's
he could. Yeah, he could, but he's not going to, because because look, if I was speaking to Mitch McConnell or I'm just talking about Republicans, because the Republican Party, we're living in the darkest incarnation of the Republican Party in the entire history of the United States of America. I mean, you have to be an idiot not to see that. I mean, it's just so. If I was speaking to Mitch McConnell or Paul Ryan or Trump Jr. or Jared Kushner, they look at me and they go like, this guy's a freak. When we were talking about astrology, they have no idea. I actually did the chart of Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez because I was so fascinated by her, and I knew I'd get the right information because her campaign manager was an energy healer. So I've actually been in contact. Someone like that is open to it and you can see it because she's progressive. So, but these spiritual Neanderthals, and it's like they're not gonna. They could. Trump could, but he has such a. You can see in the chart such an enormous black bag. The Jungian shadow, the stuff he's hidden is so huge that he's like there's no way. I mean, there's no way at this point, and that's why he is, and that's why it's going to be spectacular. Just like spectacular. Everything, in my opinion, everything in the Steele report is true, including the hookers, peeing on the bed and the Moscow Ritz-Carlton. I can say he's peeing. I think.
Yeah, you can say that, but I'm going.
Yeah. And including the girl, the Katie, the Jane Doe, who claimed that Trump raped her over a 4-month period when she was 13 at Jeffrey Epstein's parties, who was threatened, had her life threatened when she brought a lawsuit against her. All of it. It's just like because And that's
Right.
why, and again, that's why it's symbolic of America's, death and rebirth. I mean, it's going to be an extraordinary period we live in.
Right. And the thing about it is, when you keep talking about the death and rebirth and stuff, is this like it's the dark night of the soul for isn't it actually for the whole world, not just America?
Yeah. Well, it is, unfortunately, because America is running the world and has run the world since the end of the Second World War. And all this has gone into in the book. It is that. And again, that's why, I spoke to a woman a couple of days ago who said to me, I was offering to coach her in a story. And she said she was, she had to stop reading my book because it was so intense. And I said, look, the whole point about the in-the-face stuff in the book about the environment, because you have to look at it and then realize that you can change that. So you have to look at it. You can't, get distracted by all the garbage on your newsfeed on the iPhone. I mean, this is just, you've got, if you don't look at it and do something, but the point is this, that, you can, and again, this is why I'm doing the webinar on Saturday. The last chapter of the book is called Which You, Which America, Which World. Quantum physics has proven we live in a multi-universe, and literally this reality that you and I are currently living on is not the only, by far from it. And you need to learn how to jump to another reality where all this stuff is like cleaned up. And this is not Pollyanna mumbo jumbo New Age bullshit.
Right.
Nonsense.
After that, we're going to take a break.
All right. No, I said nonsense. I said bullshit.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you.
Sorry.
Gregory, during the break, you said you had a great joke. Did we lose him? Okay, so hang on a minute, listeners. I really appreciate this. Looks like we lost Gregory Paul Martin for just a few minutes. In the meantime, we're just going to keep going with this. I mean, he's an amazing astrologer. He's funny at the same time, and he's made it where it's more lighthearted, and that's what I really like. Watch it come down. We've heard about the 3 days of darkness, and this is the one day that we have to come down. But he answered a question that I wonder, in my own mind, I'm thinking, did watch it come down? Is it about the 3 days of darkness that we're going to go through? And it's around the same timing, the seven-dimensional being that I work with, Master Guy Curiel, actually, Fred Sterling challenged him, is saying the same thing. And so, I think that this information that we have today is really important about that, because, we're in the shift right now, and we're like over the halfway mark, and we keep going more and more and more. And every minute it goes on, a certain way. And it's like, I'm looking forward to the change. I'm looking forward to children knowing that there's a better future for us. And
hi.
Hey, you're back.
Thank God. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I just was
Can you see me okay?
Not yet, but I can hear you.
Okay.
There we go. So I was just talking about what you're talking about. And then I was talking about how children are going to have a better future, and different things was coming up, because I was just talking about the 3 days of darkness that we're going to face also. And is this still leading to it? I was kind of wondering, because I worked with a shaman out of Hawaii that channels Master Guy Curiel, and it's amazing because your dates are almost the beginning of the 3 days of darkness that we'll go through also.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like those dates coincide. Almost by maybe a 5-year span different, right? But we need to go through that so things can change, and children will have it's going to be kind of like a utopia once the 3 days of darkness hits.
That's right.
And when I read your book, I'm saying it's not all doom and gloom, because it's actually things I've been waiting for. We've all been waiting for that. We're having the one. And I had somebody ask me earlier, Now, is this where we're going to be able to see our loved ones? Yes. They might be on a different dimension somewhere else. So my mom is a master angel, and she's hanging around on the sixth dimension on the angel realm, right? Where she's going to be up higher, but she's getting people ready to incarnate, to come down here and be on the planet. So it's kind of interesting. So that's what I was talking about, why you were frozen. We lost you there.
Okay, thank you. I just realized I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have made the comment about I had a sweet joke about Jesus.
I know. Now go ahead, your comment with your little joke about Jesus, your sweet joke.
You want me to tell my joke?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jesus dies and goes to heaven, and he's, of course, he's happy to be in heaven, but he's missing everyone on earth, including his obviously disciples and Mary Magdalene and his family, his parents. And he's sitting alone on a park bench in heaven one day, and this old man comes up and sits next to him. And he says, the old man says, hello, Sonny. You're looking very sad and miserable. What's the matter? And Jesus says, well, I'm very glad to be here in heaven where I belong, but I miss everyone on earth. I miss my disciples. I miss my wife. I miss my father and mother. And the old man goes, when I was alive on earth, I had a little boy just like you. And Jesus goes, really? My father was a carpenter. And the old man goes, really? Well, I was a carpenter. And Jesus goes, Daddy? And the old man looks at the holes in his hands and feet and says, Pinocchio?
Welcome to Gregory Paul Martin.
I think Jesus would like that joke. I really do, I think Jesus had a sense of...
Of course he has a sense of humor. A lot of people think that he does not, as a medium, I am. And, and he's, I can feel him laughing right now. I'm sorry. It's
of course, I'm sure.
Right now, and my guides and everybody all behind me. So, the one thing I think about is you had to play a double life for a while there, where you had to hide certain things from everybody. And, I'm going, how many times have we had to do that? Hide things of what we do. And I'm so glad that I don't have to hide, past that stage. And with my mother, I never had to hide.
That's beautiful. You're very fortunate.
I was very fortunate.
Yeah.
So, but now you're coming out with all this great information. And I really believe that all of this is going to help others heighten their consciousness and awareness.
Well, that's really, again, to go back to What You Come Down, the book, that is why I wrote the book. And, I want to say this again, that webinar you're coming to with Teresa day after tomorrow, I'm telling you, that is the most important webinar you'll ever attend. And it's the most important webinar I'll ever do. Because if people understand how to do this, and this is why we're here to learn that we are literally the creators of our own reality. There's infinite potential. And it's confirmed by quantum physics. That's why I'm asking people to look at the video on my Facebook page, like at the third or fourth post, which is of a quantum physicist called David Deutsch, who is, the major proponent of the multi-universe. Physics is confirming all this. It's what Jane Roberts taught, 50 years ago. It's the way out. It's the key. It's joyous and it's fantastic. You're here to learn all that. And it's just a glorious, glorious thing. I've actually lost track of what your question was.
No, keep going. You're fine.
No, what were you saying though? What did you say the last thing you asked me? You said
holding that double life together that you had to hold together.
You don't have to. Yeah, because it's look, again, the reason I wrote the book is because I have so much to teach people, and everything I do creatively is that. So I'm writing a novel that involves all of this right now, and it's a huge thing called Cabal. It's about the true history of the United States of America, last 50, 100 years. It involves the Kennedy assassination and 9/11 and all that stuff, which is all going to come out. Mm-hmm. But you have to inspire people, and people need to know that the world they're looking at, particularly in America, because being in Europe, you have a totally different perspective. That's why I'm here. But, in America, my God, it's just relentless. It's incredible what's happening. I remember America when I first came there in the 80s. It's a completely different country. And, people they have to see there is a way out, and they have to understand that they are in a position where they have to take back the power individually without getting too heavy, because we need to laugh. But, we have to take back the power, and right. That's, individually and en masse, and it's all your game. It's all in your mind. The whole thing is in your mind.
True. I know that the other thing is getting angry at someone. You're giving your power away.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so learning, right. So if you take an action that's going to, result in a positive, turn from negative to positive, you're going to be just fine. So,
can I just say one thing? It's like this. It's like this woman I was speaking to the other day, who actually had an appointment with me. And again, this like as I wind these one-on-ones down, she's somebody I've spoken to before, and she said that she'd read the book, and she gave, it's all 5-star reviews because it's a great book. And she gave one of those reviews, but she said she had to stop because, it was overwhelming, the first 2 chapters, the Apocalypse Now chapter and all that stuff. And I said to her, look, the whole point of this is you have to look at it, but then I'm going to give you the tools to get out of this, because it's your game. You're here experiencing that because you've chosen to be here to experience that, and you can't get away from that. You're here to wake yourself up and realize that's the reality you're not going to be in. You've got to take action, but you've got to understand this is not your future. This is not your future, and you can change it if you focus on the future that you relentlessly intend. It's right there. It's right there for you.
Well, I know I'm focusing on my future big time. Let me tell you.
Well, your future's focusing on you. Like we should.
So anyway, there was another question I saw. Okay, so here's another question that we did have. Can we lessen the impact of what it is we experience is happening now?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's again, this is why I'm doing the webinar on Saturday. It's really, there are other people out there who've begun to teach this, but it's really simple to do. And it's all embedded in the work of Jane Roberts and the Seth material back in the 1970s on the spiritual level. It's all embedded in the work of David Deutsch, the quantum physicist, which is the video on my Facebook page. Mm-hmm. You have to, the first thing is, it's really extraordinary to me, because I understand this so well, and I'm sure you understand it so well just naturally. That's why you signed up for the webinar. But most people, for some reason, have a really hard time accepting that this truth, that they're free. They just don't. They actually get freaked out by the idea that there's not one reality. They want to, for some reason, they want to stay in this fucked up this screwed up reality that we live in. They want to believe they can't get out, and it's just simple to get out. And
it really is simple to get out.
Yes, and that's what your guides and the angels, they're all trying to get through to us, come on, wake up. It doesn't have to be this way.
Right. I was slapped on the head a couple of times. Let me tell you, when you feel your hair long.
And I've been slapped on the wrist a couple of times in this studio.
All right. We're going to take a quick break.
Okay, we better.
We'll be back with more of us. Welcome back, everyone. So I want to talk, how can we teach parents that our children have a future and not give them any fear from what we've been talking about today?
Mm. Well, as we know, children are much more open than we are. And this whole understanding that there is not just one future for them. There's infinite choice, literally, and all those other futures exist. Actually, that's a great idea. I should write a book actually explaining the whole multiverse, many worlds understanding in quantum physics for children. Because if they did understand that they're literally, just because they're experiencing something difficult and hard at this time, it doesn't mean that they can. It doesn't mean they can't. They can change it like that. Of course, the parents have to understand this first, but but once they understand it, fundamentally, that is that's what's behind the whole idea of that, your challenges, everyone has challenges, like you were talking about your experience with your children. And God knows I've been through it with my son. Those are their issues, or that they've chosen, and our issues as having them with children. But it's, if we can actually share with our children the knowledge that they actually have total free will and they can change it, and we can teach them how to change anything like that. Mm-hmm. Which is why I'm doing that webinar, which I keep saying is so important on Saturday, because I've never done anything like this before. And I know, by the way, just to go back for a second, did you know who Jane Roberts was before you read about her in the book?
Yes.
You did. Well, a lot of people wouldn't. I mean, you would, because you're very intelligent, you've done a lot of people, even in the so-called New Age wouldn't know who she is. Esther Hicks completely the Abraham stuff. She completely, don't get me started about that, because, she's, everything comes from Jane Roberts. She's basically, taken Jane Roberts things and created a business out of it. But Jane Roberts was writing about this years ago, and she didn't even understand what it was. She was primarily a writer, but she was deeply psychic. And I know that she is connected. I've been talking to her as I was writing the book. Literally, this is like critical. This stuff comes through, and it is. You're absolutely right. It should be for children, because if children understand that they literally are creating their own reality, and they can change the reality according to their beliefs, their expectations, and their desires, and they understand that the universe is plastic. It's not like we're not in this, this horrible one road down to hell in a handbasket. The whole world will change. You're absolutely right. It's actually the most crucial thing.
Okay. Because I think it's so important that our children have the knowledge that we have.
Of course,
and, the other thing is, I've had people say to me, you need to come down to people's level. I want them coming up to my level or above. Right. So how can people get a hold of you? That's one question I want to get out there. Get that out of the way real quick.
Well, the Facebook page, the Gregory Paul Martin Facebook page, but they can also contact my wife. She does all the bookings for appointments, whatever. Her name is Cherie Rose Martin, so her email is Cherie, CherieRoseMartin @gmail.com. Cherie Rose Martin @gmail.com. She's also a luxury travel, consultant and designer, so she has her own webpage and her own blog called from nada to prada.com. But basically contact either through my Facebook page or through that email address, CherieRoseMartin @gmail.com.
Okay, so the Facebook page actually probably would be the best, so people can remember that one. Okay, great. Let me see, is there anything else? Do you have a Valentine's special offered? Do we have?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying to you. Because I'm stopping giving these one-on-one readings. Right. The special offer was simply because it's 2019. Because I know who I am and I know what I'm giving people. I know it's very, I charge, I suppose, relative to other astrologers out there, a lot of money. So I said to Cherie, let's just do this thing where the rest of the next 14 days, if somebody books in the next 14 days, an appointment, they can have it for $219 as opposed to $400, which is what I normally charge.
Right.
And so that's the Valentine's Day special offer. And it's from the rest of February. Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed this live feed today and how much fun you and I had together. It was great.
I could talk to you till the cows come home. That's an English expression.
I've heard that one before.
I could talk to the cows come home, and just make sure that people know what's going to happen to you is so spectacular, and it's all like happening this year, and as Trump's going down, you're coming up.
Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Things are manifesting right now. Like I said yesterday, something happened. Today, something happened, and it's like, oh my gosh, okay.
And I'm going to be seeing you. The webinar is 1:00. If anybody wants to attend that, it's 1:00 Eastern time on Saturday, this Saturday, the 16th, or 10 a.m. Pacific time.
10 a.m. Pacific time, correct.
Come down. The details are on the Facebook page too.
Right. So check that out, because Teresa and I are taking that class also. The other thing is, the difference, your readings come from the Christ consciousness. I know that. And I'm so thankful for that, because I come from the God's light with the Christ consciousness. And I'm thankful that
you're the real thing.
Thank you.
There's not many, you are, you're very rare. I haven't spoken to anybody quite like you before. But a lot of, no. I mean that in many ways. But I mean, you're very, you're the real thing. There aren't many real, there aren't many of us out there. I mean, there's a lot of people who, you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Thank you for the.
You're very, very real. You're extraordinary, actually.
Thank you. Yeah. So everyone, I would say, watch it come down, get that book and read through the lines. Don't look at all the doom and gloom in it. Read through the lines, because there's so many positive things in there. I want to thank you, Gregory, for being with us today on my show. I appreciate it, Dr. Brie show. It's great that you were able to be here with me, and we'll have to set up another time. We can do some more laughing and jokes. But anyway, so happy Valentine's Day, everyone. And have a great night and day to day, or wherever you're at, and where Gregory's at, and his wife will be home soon. So hopefully you're gonna have a great night. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and we will see you next week on the Dr. Brie Show.
God bless you.
Thank you. You too.
You've been listening to the Dr. Brie Show, the Goddess Emergence. Join Dr. Brie Gibbs Thursdays at 3 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Each show is designed to share and discuss timely key messages and truths. Dr. Brie brings forth gods and goddesses, ascended masters, and other communication our world needs. For more about Dr. Brie or the Goddess Emergence, visit www.drbriegibbs.com. That's www.drbriegibbs.com. And we'll see you next time.